Let's see if this works. Dun, dun. So hi guys, can you hear me? Nee, ik heb het. I'll be back. Niks, ik ben aan het streamen. Wat is er? Hey, I'm gonna get some coffee. Let me know if the stream is working. Wow. Hi folks, I see that there are 12 people there here. Can you hear my voice? That's my first question. Hi. As you can probably see, we are focused on Jupiter tonight. And I'm going to try and capture Jupiter, of course, in sharp cap. You already understood that. So let's see, who do we have? We have 8 people in the chat, I think. Shirat and Moises Scalo, hello, welcome to the live stream. And yeah, glad you could join me. I'm also glad to be back because I have been away for a few months basically due to some personal issues, family issues. You know how it goes. I could elaborate on that, but maybe as this is an astrophotography channel, let's focus on Jupiter first. Let's see who is here. Oh, the chat is as always a little bit late. So I can see Tim Yates is here from the US, Tennessee. Hi Tim. Catching photons. So Chris, that would be Chris, right? Hi Chris from Germany. So this is a view of Jupiter from the Netherlands. It's not the best view. We have quite some atmospheric turbulence, and actually right up until like 15 or 10 minutes before the start of the stream, I was still looking at clouds. So, but I'm really glad that I actually have this view of Jupiter. So I wanted to share this with you. I just wanted to say hi to everybody, and yeah, I'm back. And if you have any questions, maybe we can talk about, of course, as always, you know that my live sessions are unplanned. I should change that in the future sometime. But we could, of course, talk about planetary imaging. I would guess that this is a good time. Who do we have in the chat here? Abdullah, Two Hands, UK, Two Hands Uk. Hi Wido, hello. Martin Schoenmaker is also here. Hello Martin, goedenavond. And we have Stefan from the Czech Republic. Great man, great to have you all here. And what are we going to talk about? Maybe planetary imaging, right? So maybe first start with the astrophotography gear I am using right now. And let's not forget to actually try and capture some videos. So I'll press start for a minute. As you can see, I have a little bit of trouble keeping Jupiter in focus because I have a magnification of about 5000 millimeters focal length. And this is the view. It's not the best view currently, but we have a view of Jupiter through my Edge HD 8-inch telescope. And of course I'm using the EQ6R Pro as a mount. And as for my camera, I am currently using the ASI 178MC camera from ZWO. And unfortunately my image freezes here. Hope it will come back. I wanted you to show the camera. Here you can see it here. The 178MC cool. And I am not guiding actually. I'm not guiding. I'm just trying to capture some views of Jupiter. I did polar align my scope and it was kind of hard to find Jupiter. But luckily I had a good finder scope. So the finder scope was good, was aligned with my Edge HD, so I could actually slew to the object using my finder scope. So that would also be one of my tips when you want to engage in planetary imaging. Also use a finder scope. So we have 17 people. Wow, I'm very glad that we have 17 people. Who do we have? Owen Niekerk. I don't know, Owen, are you Dutch or not? Hi. Two Hands Uk says, do you have a view of Saturn to show? Yeah, Two Hands Uk, maybe later, but right now I'm very glad that I actually found Jupiter for now. So I will be focusing on this for the coming 30 minutes at least. We have Mats Photography, hello. Hello Mats, and we have Frank from Norway. I don't know Norwegian for hello, good evening, but hello. And we have the Astronomy Crazy Man. So, yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. So, of course, yeah, what can we say? If we are talking, for instance, about equipment that you can use for... Oh my God, it's very hard to keep Jupiter in focus here. So the first thing maybe to say is that, yeah, I'm using a Smith Cassegrain telescope, but yeah, actually I think I started capturing planets about 5 years ago, and at first I just used a very small apochromatic refractor with a focal length of about 500 millimeters. I could extend it with a Barlow lens to about 1000 millimeters of focal length. But yeah, if you use that kind of magnification, it would be already great for deep sky astrophotography, of course, if you have these kind of magnification levels. But for planetary imaging, I would say you need at least 2000 millimeters or at least 2000 millimeters, or preferably also a little bit higher focal length. Because otherwise the planets will appear as very small, tiny dots in your field of view. But yeah, some people use different telescopes. You also have some Maxitov telescopes, of course. They are perfectly suited actually for planetary imaging. And yeah, some people, they have these huge Dobsonian telescopes. And they actually... they manually track the planets with a big Dobsonian, with a big aperture and focal length Dobsonian telescope. So I'm really, yeah, I really respect that if people do that. But I'm babbling a little bit. Owen says I'm Dutch. Ja, ik ben Nederlands. Astronomy Crazy Man is from Michigan, USA. Hello, Astronomy Crazy Man. And who do we have? Martin, are you using ADC currently? And tips on that. It is somewhat of a magic subject for me. The ADC, help me here, Martin. Probably not, because I have to think about what it is. But maybe let's see. Maybe I can talk about what did I do. Tim Yates is near Detroit. Well, actually, what I always do when I go planetary imaging, first, of course, I will set up my rig and I polar line. But there are a couple of things that I always take into account. So first of all, just finding the planets. Let's talk about that. There are actually very tiny bright dots in the night sky. So you can easily spot them, of course, with the naked eye. If you just look up in the night sky and it's a clear night, one of the first things you will always see are the planets. They will appear as bright dots in the night sky. And that's also why, for instance, the inner planets like Venus, and sometimes also Mercury, but Venus is often easier to spot because it's a little bit further away from the sun. They're often called evening stars or morning stars because these planets are very bright. And so that's no problem. You can spot them with the naked eye. The problem is the challenge, I would say, if you have to put it more positively, the challenge is in trying to magnify your image and such that you get some surface details of the planets. And unfortunately, it's a very bad seeing night to night, but I still wanted to share this with you. And to get, maybe as an example, even at the best of times, so this is one of the best times to capture Jupiter because Jupiter was in opposition in August. So it is now very, at least at its closest point to Earth, from Earth's perspective. So it's perfect to capture the planets. But even at the best of times, you have to know that the planets are maximum 1/30th the size of the moon, right? So what is that? Like about 3% of the moon. So that's also the challenge in planetary imaging because when you have such tiny objects, you need to magnify. And of course, Smith-Cassegrain telescopes, they already start at 2000 millimeters focal length. I'm using an Edge HD 8-inch telescope. It would be even better to have maybe a bigger aperture like a C11 or even a C14 Smith-Cassegrain telescope. Then you would really see some surface details of Jupiter. But right now, I'm already happy with this. And this is not 2000 millimeters of focal length. This is 5000 millimeters of focal length because I'm using a 2.5 Barlow lens on top of the Smith-Cassegrain at its native focal length. So that's 2000 times 2.5 is 5000 millimeters of focal length. Let's see. Chuck is one of the most famous. Yeah, Chuck is of course very nice. Anyone backyard EOS for Canon equipment? Backyard EOS, I have used that in the past, Astronomy Crazy Man. And I have to say that I find that software very easy to use, especially when you're just starting out in astrophotography and you have a Canon camera. It's very easy. It has a particular focusing section where you really can focus your camera on the stars. Really easy to use. And it's very easy also to put on the exposure time, the f ratio you want to use, the ISO level of your camera. You can all automatically put that in Backyard EOS. And you can also plan your session. So for instance, you want to take maybe 30 or 50 images of a particular deep sky object. You can just do that in... you can just plan that. It's very easy to plan that in Backyard EOS, and then it will just automatically take your pictures for you. You can also plan some seconds in between. Like if you want to have a cool down period of 5 or 10 seconds or maybe even longer, yeah, you can also do that. So I'm really positive about Backyard EOS. It's one of the first software tools I used in combination with my camera. And yeah, I'm really positive about it. Yeah. Wido is the Dutch Trevor. I don't know about that. I'm not Canadian and I have a different accent. Okay, Two Hands Uke says, I have a Star Adventurer and Mini and find both to be great. The Mini is great for smaller loads and smaller to pack and take on travels. The other better for heavy loads. Actually, Two Hands Uke, I just returned from a couple of weeks in France. And I really wished I would have taken a star tracker with me. I had such amazing views of the Milky Way. And yeah, I really wished I would have also gotten a star tracker. But I didn't buy one. And also when I go on holiday with my family, the car is completely stuffed with girly things, other suitcases, not for astrophotography. So that makes it challenging for me to take gear with me during my family holiday. So I need to plan actually a separate holiday or a separate weekend away. Just be under some dark skies and try to take my equipment with me. Who do we have? Eduard, hello from Slovakia. Hello, Eduard. Nice to be here. Nice to see you here. Jacinto, hi from Venezuela. Buenos dias, I think. Because it's still daytime there, right? And Mods Photography, he has I have the Skywatcher in EQ mode. I can expose for 10 minutes. Wow, that's really nice. With my DSLR. Yeah, so that's really nice. If you can expose for 10 minutes, then you're fine for most deep sky targets that you want to image. Thank you for that, Astronomy Crazy Man says to me, I guess. Yeah, you're welcome. That was about Backyard EOS. So if you have any kind of questions, I'll try to answer them. Can you post your final result afterwards, maybe with a comparison raw stacked? Yeah, Chris, Catching Photons, I have to say. Just also visit his channel, Catching Photons. Yeah, of course. Of course, I will be able to do that. Maybe I will use Instagram to post the final image of Jupiter. I already posted one on my stories because I didn't really, it was not the best picture. But on the other hand, I think with a Celestron C8, maybe this is a little bit the best I can get. We have a bad seeing night. But anyway, I think when you want to have a great picture of Jupiter, you would also need a bigger aperture Smith-Cassegrain telescope even. And hey, how nice, my master student I supervise is here, Gabriela Veleva. Happy to be watching your stream. Hey, Gabriela. If you want to get into astrophotography, just let me know. So as a teacher, I supervise her on an organizational psychology topic, not related to astrophotography whatsoever. But nice to see that you're all also following me here. I didn't know. Really nice of you. And congratulations, because Gabriela has finished her master thesis. She can now call herself a master of organizational psychology. So congratulations. Who do we have? Sivan Bonsal and Jacinto. Yes, still sunlight. But Chris, I will post maybe just the videos also. Maybe I can put it in a Dropbox so all you guys, you can check it out yourself and just play around in AutoStacker and everything. Jupiter TV, amazing view of Jupiter. Thank you, Jupiter TV. I don't know your channel, but I guess you are broadcasting views of Jupiter. So if you want to use this, be my guest. Oh, Nikerk, yeah, you're chatting among each other. We have Ali from Turkey. Hello, Ali. And Eduard says, where are you located in the Netherlands? I was a few months working in Enschede. Oh yeah, Enschede is, I think, 1.5 hours away from where I am. So I'm living in Utrecht. And for those of you who do not know the Netherlands that well, you probably know Amsterdam. Because Amsterdam is the biggest city in the Netherlands, of course, the capital. And I'm about 30 kilometers away from Amsterdam. So about, 20 miles, I think. So yeah, we can also talk about, of course, because now I am capturing these frames. And what I do, maybe I can talk about that a little bit. So I'm capturing here with a high gain setting. So my gain of my ASI 178, it has a maximum of about 510. And I always like to capture planets with a high gain setting, so close to the maximum, about 80% or maybe 85%. The reason for that is when you have a high gain setting, you also need a small exposure time actually. So the exposure time right now is 4 milliseconds. And when you have a shorter exposure time, of course, you can capture more frames per second. So that's really interesting. And also, wait. And yeah, you might think that, hey, because of this high gain setting, I have a grainy picture of Jupiter right now. And that is completely true if you look at these individual frames. Jupiter looks very grainy. But actually, when you use a processing tool, and a lot of people, I think almost every planetary imager uses AutoStackered. When you use AutoStackered, you can actually stack all of these individual frames together. And that really allows you to come up with a smooth picture of Jupiter. And what is also interesting is when you have multiple frames per second, you can, of course, or when you have a higher gain setting and you have a lower exposure time, you can catch more frames of Jupiter. And chances are higher that you will have some high quality frames in your stack of your particular video. So for instance, I'm going to start the capture. I'm capturing Jupiter for 1 minute, pressing on start. And now you can see here on the bottom of the screen, I don't know if it is visible. Actually, I'm capturing Jupiter at about 36 frames per second right now. And that means that for every second, it takes 36 pictures. So I will be ending up with 36 times 60 seconds of pictures, which is close to 2,000 pictures. Now, if you have a large number of images of Jupiter, of course, you can then select the highest quality images while you will drop the low quality images. And that also improves the final picture of Jupiter. So I'm talking among myself, I think. Oh, we have 30 people here. So hi, let's see if there are any other people. So Mats, he got himself a mount for 300 euros. So Mats, congratulations. What did you get? We'll look into it. Thanks for the advice. We have Carlos Aragon. Is that Aragon from the Lord of the Rings? Or from Aragon. That's also a city in Spain, I think. Carlos. When is your next live stacking stream? I would love a tutorial stacking. I do at least. I have a 4K projector to bring into town to live stream the live stack to the public. Really, Carlos? That is incredible. I would love to see that one time. I don't know where you live. I'm guessing Spain, but maybe not. Meanwhile, you can also see that, at least I think, maybe it's my imagination, but the atmosphere is getting a little bit more stable now. can have multiple reasons, of course, but one of the things that is also interesting if you want to capture planets is to wait until the planet is at its highest position in the night sky. That's also pretty important. So when you capture a planet that is close to the horizon, well, everybody has watched sunrise or sunset, and then there's a lot of atmospheric turbulence. That's also why the sun, for instance, turns red just before sunset, and that's actually the worst time to capture a planet. So at night you want to wait until the planet is in its highest position, and then you're going to capture the planet. Because then you have to shoot through less atmosphere and you will have a more stable view of the planet. And yeah, by the way, somebody asked about post-processing. Yeah, I will definitely look into that, because I'm planning for the next few weeks at least to engage in planetary imaging. And I will also try to make some videos on capturing post-processing. So that's nice. And let's see, do I have other information for you? Emerald Hill Sky says, love this. Thank you, Emerald. Carlos says, yeah, Carlos, where are you from? Did you say? Are you using a long USB cable outside? No, Carlos, I'm actually using a USB 3.0 cable that is pretty close to the PC. But I'm not using the highest quality processor on my small factor PC here. But in general, if people are seeing this is really important. What you also want to do when capturing planets is to have a small USB cable. So Carlos is right, and you want to you want to have a short cable. And you also want to have a laptop or a computer that has a USB 3.0 connection, because that really improves the frame rate. And I guess my equipment is not perfect in that sense, Carlos. But for anyone who wants to capture the planet, it's really important to have like a short USB 3.0 cable, or the fastest cable you can have. And that improves the frame rates per second, because in planetary imaging, as I said before, it's all about capturing as many frames as possible for every second you are capturing that planet. Let me try to take another 1 minute. Oh yeah, maybe also another thing to think about when capturing. So I'm in SharpCap, by the way. SharpCap is really free. You can download SharpCap for free, so that's pretty nice. There is also a pro version. I'm using a pro version, but not because of planetary imaging, because of other tools I use when I engage in deep sky imaging. So if you want to use SharpCap, you can download it for free, and you can freely use it for planetary imaging. So that's super cool. I'm showing you the histogram here, and I'm a kind of an idiot because I forgot another important rule. Is when you have like a gain setting of 80 or 85%, another thing you can look at is your histogram. And currently it's peaking at about 50% here. You can see I have a color camera, so I have red, green and blue here. And what you can try to do is to increase it then a little bit. So not during capture, so this is a stupid thing to do for. But yeah, you can increase it to about 80%, 85%. And that actually supposed to increase also the details you can catch to a maximum. But right now, for some reason, I think when I capture it like this, it's maybe a little bit overexposed. But maybe I'm wrong. I can find. I will just make also different videos with different gain settings and exposure settings, so we can look at the different results also later on. 34 people, wow. Thanks for joining, everybody. Let's see. There are too many chats. I'm behind on your remarks here. And please, yeah, just ask any kind of question you want. So there are people using SV Boni 503s. Yeah, I think. I think that's an achromat refractor, right? So the SV Boni Alchemy Girl, I think that's a nice telescope when you want to get into maybe visual astronomy, just looking at planets and looking at the moon through your eyepiece. You could also use it for planetary imaging, but it is, I think, an achromat refractor. So when you will engage in deep sky imaging, when you want to have like long exposure pictures, when you want to use the SV Boni 503, I guess, maybe or maybe not, because it says ED. If it is an ED, then you have two pieces of glass in your refractor, and you could actually also engage in deep sky imaging. I would be interested in that. I will check it out. Steve Oskop is also here. Why do you or anyone image multiple short videos and not just one long one? Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, that has to do with the size of the videos I am capturing. So if I'm capturing a fast FPS for only 1 or 2 minutes, sometimes also 3, then I already end up with maybe 7, 8 or 10 gigabyte, video. Yeah, if you have a super large hard disk, of course you can I think continue to image for many minutes or maybe even hours. But that's actually the main reason. And also I noticed that when I am sometimes capturing the planets, and when I think it has to do with my processor, but when I capture for multiple minutes, at one point it starts dropping frames, and even now it's already dropping frames. So maybe there's something wrong in the setting of my PC, I think. I have to check it out. So that's definitely not the best. Usually I am working with the laptop, and my laptop is a little bit faster, but I also wanted to stream tonight. So I'm using my faster laptop to show you how planetary imaging looks like in SharpCap. And that's why I cannot use the fastest frame rates right now. So yeah. Tim says, thanks for doing this. Thank you, Tim. Question, are you using any type of filter for this? Yeah, I experimented a little bit with it, but I'm currently not using any filter actually for planetary imaging. I found that, that actually it works quite nicely without any light pollution filters. And I think the main reason is that the planets are broadband targets basically. So they emit light in different parts of the light spectrum. And they are also pretty bright targets. So although I am here in the center of a reasonably big city in the Netherlands, still, I'm capturing these frames at like 7 milliseconds. And yeah, I have used, I think, an IR cut filter to image the planets. That sometimes improves the contrast. But further, I would say, yeah, most of the time I'm just imaging planets like this, so without any additional filters. It is also rotating, so 5 minutes is not good. Yeah, that's a good remark, Lagezar Krastev, if I pronounce your name correctly. If you capture Jupiter, of course, you have to understand that it's a planet and it turns around its own axis. And with Jupiter, it turns around its own axis about once every 10 hours. So when you capture for multiple minutes, you will see different surface features. And when you are then going to use that big stack to stack all of the images together, you will notice that that of course the features of the image, they change when a planet turns around its own axis. And then probably AutoStacker is not able to stack so well. So thank you for that additional remark, Lagos are Krastev. Oh, I also have, I remember another thing that I wanted to tell you. So I am not capturing at the highest field of view. So my camera has a resolution, I can show you. Hopefully it will show it. So my camera has this oh, this is actually also pretty nice. It has a resolution of 3000 by 2000. And as you can see here, even there are 2 additional moons. So now I will start capture. So yeah, this is the so this is the widest resolution I can get on my ASI 178. But now you can already see that the frame rates are terrible. But what I wanted to say is, usually you're only interested in capturing the planet, right? And when you capture the planet, then all that black space around the planet, you don't need to image that as well. So by actually decreasing your capturing area or your field of view, you will get the planet, like yeah, a better view of the planet, of course. And you're not capturing such a big image, so your frame rates per second will go up when you image on a smaller scale. So that's mainly why I am imaging on like I think 1040 by 1040 most of the time. And I really love this image with the 2 moons on the right hand side of Jupiter. But my frame rates are terrible. Anyway, I could check out, of course, which of the 2 moons, or the Galilean moons, are on the right side of Jupiter right now. Does somebody know it by heart? Maybe not. Jupiter, let's check it out. So I'm using here Stellarium to check it. Jupiter. Oh. So it has 2 small moons on the right hand side, but I'm not sure. The bigger one is Europa, but it's further away. And we have like Almaldea and David. They are not Galilean moons probably, that you see on the right hand side of Jupiter. But I'm not sure. So if anyone has a better suggestion, let me know. Okay, Malo says something. Tim Yates, so just a Barlow and a camera. Yeah, Tim, this is basically what I do. Yeah. So actually, I would say it is, I think, maybe very good when you just get into to astrophotography. The first things that are easy to do is, of course, imaging the moon and doing something like this, like imaging the planets. But it's easy and hard at the same time. Because the easy part is that you can actually use your telescope with a Barlow lens and a camera, and you can just start doing this. So that's really great. You don't need any additional, wrong one. You don't need any additional gear. But at the same time, you are also trying to capture these bright planets with a high level of magnification. It is hard to find these planets at high levels of magnification in the night sky. But yeah, once you found them, you can of course engage in capturing and post-processing. So that's really nice. And also what I also think is nice is you don't need a very expensive camera when you start planetary imaging. So I'm going back to the gear you want to use. So yeah, planetary cameras, because they need a high frame rate per second, you want a camera with a high frame rate per second actually. And you don't need a camera that is capable of taking like long exposure pictures of multiple minutes. Because those astrophotography cameras, they often include cooling capabilities. And when a camera needs to include a cooler as well, you will notice that the prices go up quite considerably. But when you buy a dedicated astrophotography camera without any cooling, maybe for $200-300 or euros, you can really already start doing planetary astrophotography and moon, planetary imaging, moon imaging. That's all quite feasible with a budget camera actually. So Edward thinks they are Io and Ganymede, and maybe I'm using my stellarium incorrectly. Am I on the right day? I think, yeah, you're right. But then maybe my camera is upside down. So what I'm seeing on the right hand side is actually Ganymede and Io on actually right now left of Jupiter. So thanks. But what says Malo? But if the total exposure time is the same, the amount of rotation in the multiple short exposures is the same as... Yeah, but Malo, Jupiter is gone. Oops. Something happened. Oh, I should have paid attention. Let's see if I can get it back. I think I pressed wrong. Oh, I think no. It's probably a cloud. Of course, we are in the Netherlands. Oh, yeah. I was afraid of that. Maybe I can increase the exposure so we can at least track Jupiter. So yeah, this happens also. But Malo, yeah, you will end up with multiple videos, and what is actually nice, if you can set, I'm a little bit unstructured now, but you can set up like a whole plan where you try to image Jupiter for multiple hours, and then for every 5 minutes, for instance, oh, here we go, it's gone. For every 5 minutes you can take maybe 1 or 2 minute video. Then when you track Jupiter for multiple hours, you end up with those individual videos. If you process them individually, you will end up with maybe 10 or 20 or 30 or maybe even more pictures of Jupiter that have a high quality. And that is super interesting, because if you put these images in order, you can actually make a time-lapse video of Jupiter and you will see the movement of the planet. Yeah? So that's really cool to do. Actually, I never did that. And you know why? This is because often we don't have super clear nights in the Netherlands. And you need one perfectly clear night at least and track a planet for multiple hours to notice, really, to really capture the rotation of a planet. But it is doable. So, I have $5 from Carlos. Carlos, thank you so much for paying me $5. I'm super honored. And your question is, maybe we could do a live stream together for my astronomy non-profit one day. Would be fun. We really love your videos. Thanks for what you do. Carlos, definitely. I am really honored that you're paying me $5 for this for the information I give right now. And yeah, of course, just maybe the best way to get in touch with me is via Instagram. I also have an Astroforum Instagram account. If you send me a direct message at Astoforum, yeah, we can hook up and we can see what we can do together. Would be super nice. Pim says you sound Dutch. Yeah, that's because I'm Dutch. Tim says clouds. Yeah. Yes, we have clouds. Yes, Pim, we could speak in Dutch, but the channel is in English. I chose. I thought let's set a challenge for myself. Let's make the channel English. But you should maybe appreciate a little bit my progression over the years. My first videos sound even more Dutch than I sound right now, or maybe not. You can decide it for yourself. Oh, but on the other hand, Tim Yates, that sounds really English, right? So maybe you have English parents or... So yeah, guys, we are losing Jupiter a little bit, unfortunately. Let's see, maybe I can bring it back here. So, any other questions? I guess we could also, yeah, I think I should make a separate video on processing, right? So I think I haphazardly talked about the kind of astrophotography equipment you preferably need to capture the planets. I've talked about the different software you can use, like SharpCap and FireCapture, and also the settings I use to capture the planet. But for post-processing, the only thing maybe to mention is that there are free software programs to post-process your video. So that's super nice. And I do want to mention one program that is actually created by a Dutch developer, Emiel Krijkamp, already a few years ago. I think maybe 10 years ago already. And it is called AutoStaggered. And AutoStaggered is actually the program that the software tool that most people use to post-process their planetary images. So it's coming back. Maybe I'm in luck. And yeah, I don't think I need to get into the settings of AutoStaggered, but one general thing I have to say is that the first thing you can do is just select the highest quality frame of your video actually, and then you can ask AutoStagger to maybe stack only 25% of the pictures that resemble that highest quality picture. So then you already end up with a good quality picture of a planet. And what AutoStaggered also has is something that is called sharpening. So it will use some of the raw images together with the stacked image to create like a sharp image of Jupiter, or as sharp as possible. And the final thing I really like is the drizzle function. Maybe for those of you who do not know AutoStaggered, this sounds a little bit, I don't know, crazy. But if you do, the drizzle option is also really good, because you will make your picture a little bit smaller, but that also allows you to create super pixels, and those from individual pixels. And that usually also creates a sharper picture of the planet. So that's for I would use AutoStagger to stack your videos, your images actually, the videos you created. And as a second software tool, I would use Registex. So Registex is super nice software to further sharpen your stacked picture. So you export it from AutoStaggered into Registex. Registex, also free software tool. So really appreciated that all these developers, they just spend their free time on creating free software tools for us. So whenever you see like a PayPal donate button, just donate them a cup of coffee or something, because it's really it's awesome what they created, and it's being used by, I think, maybe hundreds or thousands or 100,000 of people. So don't forget to give them a little bit of credit. So let's see, you're still here, at least 33 of you, thank you. I don't see the moons of Jupiter. Yeah, that's true, because I switched back to my narrow field of view. So let me show you that again. Who asks this? Mountain Mark, 1972. I'm from 1977. So here, Mountain Mark. Maybe increase the exposure a little bit. So here you can see Jupiter. Oh, so on the right side you see two of the Galilean moons of Jupiter. And actually my camera is upside down in the telescope. So they are right now, they are on the left of Jupiter in real life. So when you have maybe binoculars and you look at Jupiter, those are the two moons on the left of Jupiter you see here in my picture. I need to take a bit of water here. I've seen those time lapses on Instagram. Yeah, Malo, I feel you there on the problem with clouds. I live outside Den Haag. Oh, here we go again. Clouds. Oh. Yeah, if you live in the Netherlands, or if you let's say when you live in Western Europe, huh? I don't know if you try to engage in any astrophotography during the summer, but man, it was terrible. I was really grateful to be able to go to France for a couple of weeks, because I heard from my parents that the weather in the Netherlands, but also Belgium, we have had the flooding, of course, terrible also. And also in the UK, I guess, in Great Britain, I can't imagine that the weather was better. So I hope for those of you who are watching from elsewhere, from the US or Asia, I hope you have had some opportunities and some clear skies to get into planetary imaging or astrophotography. Because here in Western Europe, we have had clouds. But I should not complain. I knew that already before I started my hobby. And actually, I find it also a little bit challenging to wait for those nights when we do have clear skies, and then see what you can do, because I'm imaging also from a city. That's also not ideal, of course, with a lot of artificial light pollution, but that all makes the hobby also a little bit more challenging. Oh, here we go again, like the clouds. And I think in general, when you think about astrophotography, and learning the ropes of astrophotography, I'm 5 years in the hobby and I'm still learning stuff. And I'm still getting tips from other people that are really useful for me. So I think what I often say is that astrophotography is more like running a marathon as compared to running a sprint. Because each time you will be challenged, like here we have the clouds, and each time there's something maybe with your equipment, it's not connecting, you have to learn how to set up and polar align your equatorial mount, you have to learn to guide, to find objects in the night sky, to process your images. And actually that's what makes it challenging. That's also what makes it frustrating sometimes. But in the end, you will also feel very, it's also very rewarding as a hobby, because in the end, when you do have that one clear night, you do have amazing pictures and you can process them and you end up with a nice picture you can share, then I think this makes it all worthwhile, astrophotography. And of course, you have to have an innate, how you can say, you have to be interested in space, of course. If you're not interested in what happens outside of the Earth, then you will probably need another hobby. So you're chatting a lot. Thanks. One side is Ganymede and the other is Io. Yes. What's the best thing to do against light pollution? I live near Rotterdam. Danny, go away from Rotterdam. Try to go outside of the city. But of course, on the other hand, you often cannot, because you have other obligations. And I'm imaging from the city center of Utrecht right now. So you can see, you can do stuff. The first thing I did to combat light pollution was to buy a broadband light pollution filter. And they are available for, I think, $100 or $150. Sometimes also cheaper than that. There are higher quality and low quality filters. And what broadband light pollution filters basically do is they try to block light coming from certain wavelengths that are used by artificial lighting in your city. So this has advantages and it has disadvantages. The advantage is that particular part of the light spectrum will get blocked. So you will be able to engage into deep sky astrophotography, taking longer exposures with a broadband light pollution filter. On the other hand, the artificial light that it is blocking, the wavelengths that it is blocking, often also appear in the deep sky object that you want to image. And that's particularly the case with, for instance, galaxies, or what we call broadband deep sky targets. And if that is the case, the only solution is you want to go away from the city and search for a dark sky. The second thing that was really helpful is that I have engaged in what is called narrowband imaging. And I would say when you just start out astrophotography, don't think about narrowband imaging yet, because you need to get some competence in other kind of steps, like setting up your gear, your telescope, your mount, trying to take a picture with a regular camera, trying to get into auto-guiding and that kind of stuff. But when you have like a certain routine developed for deep sky astrophotography, and you are living in Rotterdam or Utrecht or any other city in Europe or the United States, I would really advise you to also try narrowband imaging. Narrowband imaging is probably the best way to get decent pictures in the city. And you will only get a certain part, a very small part of the light spectrum. But on those parts, some of the nebulae, they really emit some strong light. And a very famous filter people always use is the hydrogen alpha filter for that. But anyway, this is not about narrowband imaging, of course. So this is often when I try to answer a certain question. It takes me 10 minutes. Yeah. Let's see, where was I? So Rotterdam. Yeah, Danny, I hope I answered your question a little bit. Do you see my note above saying that you are the reason I have a Skywatcher EQ6R Pro mount? Emerald Hill, sorry, I missed that. I also said thanks a lot for making me spend the $1,700. Oh, I hope that is meant in a good way, Emerald Hills, guys. I really hope you have, you didn't run into any issues and you are able to use the EQ6R Pro to its full capacity. I have been using the mount for I think a year now, and I have two videos on it. One video with Chuck from last year discussing the pros and cons of the EQ6R Pro, and another video I did a review after 6 months. And yeah, in general I really like the EQ6R Pro as an advanced astrophotography mount. I think for those of you who are just starting astrophotography, $1,700 sounds like a crazy amount of money to spend on gear. But I have to say that, yeah, it is really a money pit, this hobby. And you start off with, at least I started off with a very small telescope, $300 on an altitude azimuth mount with some eyepieces. And yeah. I got hooked on astrophotography basically, and planetary imaging. And then, yeah, you just notice that in order to take higher quality pictures, you need a higher quality telescope, a higher quality mount to track objects in the night sky, a higher quality camera, a cooled camera, and then you also need some filters. And before you know it, you have spent a couple of $1,000 or euros. So when I'm always also checking the gear people use, because some pictures are amazing, and that's of course also amazing. When you have amazing pictures, you can be super proud of yourself. But with some gear, if you have, for instance, if you have a small refractor with a 500mm focal length, you will not be able to get Jupiter into view like this, huh? And you will end up with like a smaller Jupiter in your picture, and that can still be wonderful. The first time I stacked a video of Jupiter, I used an achromat refractor, and I ended up with a very tiny dot in the center of my picture, and I was really proud of it because I could see the cloud bands a little bit of Jupiter. So I would say don't compare yourself to any kind of astrophotographer, or maybe you shouldn't compare yourself to others at all. Just look at your previous picture and your next picture and try to improve on that. Don't be disturbed by any kind of high quality pictures posted on Instagram by people who are doing this even longer than I do, because I'm also just in the hobby for a couple of years. And there are people that do this maybe their entire lives already. So just try to learn from everyone. And I really like the community. People are often open to give you some tips, some feedback. There are a lot of astrophotography channels out there. I'm certainly not the only one. So I think that's really cool. And we learn from each other. And every time we get a little bit better. And it is actually a very nice hobby because you develop your skills over the years, and you have so many different aspects of astrophotography that you can, you can really get. I wanted to say get lost, but in a good way. You can really, how do you say, get into flow or become engaged in this hobby, and you can do it for multiple years. So I'm babbling again. We have 51 people now. Wow. So you, I hope you like my little outbursts of things that pop up in my head when I'm talking about astrophotography and planetary imaging. Oh, I missed a lot of your videos, of your comments. Sorry about that. Your review was great, by the way. Thank you, Emerald Hill Skies. Do you also have a channel, or check him out or her? Noah's Astrophotography. Awesome live views of Jupiter. Thank you, Noah. Clear skies from Minnesota, US. Thank you so much. I need to visit the US sometime. I've been to the US only twice, I think. It was for work, mostly. But what I saw was incredible. I went to New York, I went to Washington, all the things that the stupid tourists do, of course. And another time I went to the East Coast, LA and surroundings. But of course, there's an entire Midland also, and I would love to spend more time in the United States sometime. Just, it would be incredible to travel from the East Coast to the West Coast and just see the many different, I think also the different cultures, right? And the different states. And I also know, I looked at the light pollution map, of course, because I'm always interested in finding dark sites. And then you quickly notice that like the East Coast in the United States is also suffering from a lot of light pollution, I guess, because of the big cities. And then you have this, I would say, center to western region where I think you can still really find super dark skies. And we don't have this that much in Europe. So, I would really love to spend some time there. And in Europe, actually, we don't have, we do have it if you go towards the east, I would say. If you go towards Poland, also Romania, there are some places where you can have really dark skies. And also certain provinces in France. Are they called provinces or regions? I don't know. And in Spain, by the way. So we have, I think, towards the south of Europe, and towards the east of Europe, we still have dark skies left. So that's nice to know. Maybe I have to travel over there sometime. Ollie's Astro. Hi, good morning from Australia. It is also very cloudy here the last 3 weeks. Oh, really? Yeah, of course, Ollie, you are now close to springtime, right? I don't know. I've seen some terrible images of the fires, I think, in Australia. But hope you are fine, and I hope you will get some clear skies. I did see your last video. It was the Carina Nebula, right? You imaged. It's an incredible picture. An incredible picture Ollie took of the Carina Nebula, and I'm really that would also be nice. So apart from visiting the US, I would also like to visit the southern hemisphere sometime, because you get a completely different sky when you're in the southern hemisphere with some incredible deep sky objects to image, like the Carina Nebula. I cannot see it from here. So check out Ollie's video. Tim says, here in Tennessee it has been cloudy a lot. Oh, so in the US you also have been suffering from bad weather. Mountain Mark says he's been living in the Limburg region. And he says, when I was young I could see the night sky, but I haven't seen it for years. Yeah, that's also what I get from... actually, my parents, they say that I lived in Brabant, so in the south of the Netherlands. And they were also, I need to start capturing. What am I doing? I'm only talking. Let's capture Jupiter. That's why I'm here. You can also see that I think the sky is a little bit more stable right now. because also Jupiter is also rising in the night sky, so I'm hoping that I will get a better view when I wait for maybe another hour. I don't think the stream is going to be that long because I'm getting a bit tired. But what was I saying? Yeah, in Limburg, I also heard from my parents that in the 80s and even until the end of the 80s, we had pretty clear or dark skies also in the Netherlands. But then we started to build a lot, and especially in the western part of the Netherlands, we have Westland. So there's a big agricultural area where people have these greenhouses, and they are among the best of the world to produce high quantities of food. And on the one hand, that's really something to be proud of, maybe in the Netherlands, depending on the way you look at it. I don't have a strong opinion about it, but it is really terrible in terms of our sky, because of course they will leave the light on at night, because light with the proper amount of lighting, the plants continue to grow and everything. And I think we are among the biggest exporters of like agricultural food across the world, actually. But at the same time, our dark skies are gone because of it. So yeah, what can I say? This is 2021, and this is the situation in the Netherlands. EQ6R Pro, best amount for the money. Yeah, I would agree. But I was tempted actually to. I have the EQ6R Pro for about a year now, and I didn't update. I have a video that's about 1 year old about advanced astrophotography mounts. But I wanted to update that video because I am kind of curious about new mounts that might be on the market. Because I noticed a similar thing with beginner level astrophotography mounts. We're not talking about planetary imaging whatsoever, but because in the beginner level astrophotography mounts, I saw that there are a couple of Ioptron mounts that I would consider now. I used to recommend like the Celestron AVX and the Skywatcher Hack 5 Pro. A lot of people buy those two mounts as beginner level mounts, and they are perfectly well suited. But I saw that Ioptron also released the SEM26 and the GEM28, and the specs on those mounts were incredible actually, for the price you have to pay. So yeah, maybe something similar is happening in the world of advanced mounts. I don't know. Should check it out. Maybe you can check it out with me. So, Buku says, good evening. Good evening, Buku. Glad to see you here again. I think you have been here before. And yeah, I didn't live stream, I think, for a couple of months. Due to different reasons. But I'm back, so I'm glad to see you also. I hope you're fine. Good evening. Antonio Maestro says, hello. Terry Jennings. Is there any benefit to using an Optolong L Pro filter on the planets? Yeah, Terry, maybe I will offend some people who will say it will be beneficial, but yeah, I don't have the L Pro broadband light pollution filter, so I cannot vouch for the L Pro. But I have another type of, I have the I-UTAG light pollution filter, broadband light pollution filter, which actually is similar. It blocks similar parts of the wavelengths. And I didn't come up with any improved videos of the planets while using broadband light pollution filters, even from the city. So yeah. Maybe I should check it again with the Celestron CA, because now I didn't actually include my filter wheel in my setup for tonight. So I cannot try it, but it would be nice actually to also, a good point actually, I should check that. Maybe other people can comment on that particular question also. Come to the Smoky Mountains, awesome place. It sounds good, Tim, sounds good. Erik van Zandt, hello from Michigan. Is it Eric Van Zandt then? If you're from the US, it's if I look at your name, Eric is spelled in an English manner, but Van Zandt, like Van Zandt, is really could also be a Dutch last name. actually. Hello from Michigan. So, hi. You are close to Chuck, I think. So Michigan, is it at the big lake kind of territory where you have some dark skies left? Mountain Mark says Canary Islands. Yeah, I would really love to go to the Canary Islands, not only for astrophotography, but also for some swimming and some relaxation. North Carolina checking in. Dave Hort. Hello, North Carolina. How are you doing? Malo says, have you been to Terschelling? Ah, that's also good. We have, that's a good, for those Dutchies who are watching this, Terschelling really still has some dark skies. And I think this is an island actually in the north of the Netherlands. And I think it is an official dark sky location. So they have some protection. And it's really beautiful when you want to visit Terschelling for the nature, but also for dark skies. So Marco, what is your telescope setup? Yeah, Marco, you tuned in a little bit later, I guess. How long have I been streaming? Maybe for an hour now. Marco, I'm using the Celestron. Maybe I can redo what I said. Yeah, I'm imaging with the Celestron Edge HD 8-inch telescope. So C8. So I have a 200 millimeter aperture or an 8-inch aperture. And this telescope has a 2000 millimeter focal length. But I am not right now. I'm imaging or I'm taking videos at 5000 millimeter focal length. Because I also use a Barlow 2.5 lens. And I am using the ASI 178 color camera to capture Jupiter right now. So I hope that is the information you were looking for. Buku. I used the L Pro on Jupiter and it looks really good. I just had it in there to block the IR UV. I have it maybe because I'm using the 178. I think it has an IR UV cut filter already on the camera. So that could also be why I am not seeing any differences. Thank you, Buku, for this info. Ollie says, hey Wido, yes, we're coming to spring. Actually been very wet this winter. You're always welcome to come down. You know, once this whole thing with COVID is over, we should, there are many astrophotography friends online. We should try to organize something. Maybe we can first go to Australia, then to Europe, then to the US to have some star parties. That would be awesome. That would really be awesome. Erik van Zand says it is Dutch. So you are Dutch, or your last name is Dutch. Ollie says, I use the L Pro in my Bortle Class 5.6 back garden. It helps with longer Milky Way exposures. It does help. So you see, you should try it out. I am not the final authority on this one. So, and actually I started out with a broadband light pollution filter. It was one of the first filters I bought. And I actually bought a clip-in filter I could use with my Canon 1200D actually. So that's a Rebel T5 in the US. It's a really old camera, but so yeah, experiment with broadband light pollution filters. I will do that myself when I'm seeing this right now. Maybe for hopefully we have this is what's happening now with Jupiter. I think we have some incredible turbulence in the night sky, unfortunately, and here are the clouds. Yeah, I thought already I could see this coming from the turbulence we were getting, so I can go to max exposure. Hopefully we will not lose Jupiter then. I used the L Pro during a full moon and it was really good. But L Pro, right? Is it the L Pro? Are we talking about a broadband filter or not? I'm amazed. Do you use an ADC on your camera? I do not, Jim. Simon, I live in Boxtel. Here is the clouds are gone again. I live in Boxtel, a small town in Brabant. I know Boxtel, Simon. And it's really beautiful today outside. Yeah, that's great. I noticed that it's a good. We had some good weather today. Finally, after weeks of rain and clouds. So that's also why I set up the telescope. Oh, I should go down with my exposure now. So let's try to put it back at 80%. Yep. Yeah, still a lot of turbulence. So guys, really awesome to see you here. And I think I will be ending the stream because I do want to use this laptop. Hopefully I will get some clear skies tonight to do some capturing with this laptop, because the processor of this laptop is a little bit better as compared to the PC, like a mini PC that I'm using. And I'm trying to get as many frames as possible of Jupiter. But really, thank you for tuning in. And yeah, if you want to hook up with me or ask me any questions about astrophotography, right now the best way to do that is to look me up at Instagram at Astoforum, or I also have a website. Why I never, I'm terrible at commercial activities. But I also have a website, astroforumspace.com, and you can go there, and I have some blogs on how to perform astrophotography, etc. And if you put your questions there in the blogs, I will also check them out and I will comment on the questions you may have. And of course, I have my YouTube channel. I also try to keep up with the comments there. So super nice to see you all here. And yeah, we have some clouds again, so probably Jupiter is gone anyway. I hope to make at least maybe one live video every month. So yeah, and it's most of the time it's a bit of a spontaneous thing because I cannot really predict the weather here in the Netherlands, and I always want to show some astronomical object when I go live. But maybe that's maybe too ambitious, especially in wintertime. But anyway. Hope to see you next time on a live stream, and hope you have a great day or a great evening or a great night. Clear skies.